Your most requested topic this week is IT band. IT is short for iliotibial. Ilio because it starts in your ilium, meaning your upper hip bone. These fancy words get thrown around, but really, we're just talking about upper hip bone, and this band connects all the way down tibia, shin bone. So shin bone, hip. This thing goes all the way. And when I had really bad IT band pain, I used to think, why do I even have an IT band? I wish I didn't even have one. Why do I need one? Well, its job is to help stabilize the functions between your hip and your knee. So it really does add a layer of protection and stability for your body. Now, when I say I want to bulletproof something, bulletproof became my keyword in life back when I couldn't even play my sport of basketball. I wanted to bulletproof my knees to be able to play basketball. As crazy as it sounded, I had no girls interested. This is before I met Alyssa. I didn't really have any friends left, hooked on painkillers. In my mind, if all I could do was go play basketball with my friends, whatever else happened in life, I'd have a good life. So this was my keyword in life, bulletproof the body. And in my case, bulletproof my knees. But this is just a secondary definition of bulletproof. It doesn't mean bulletproof. It means that you're pretty protected in an area to bulletproof something. There's no absolutes. So these are just 4 things that I do that worked for me and have worked for a lot of other people, including doctors who came to me on their last ditch effort, whatever, this knees over toes guy, my friend said, give it a shot. This isn't gonna work. Dude, I've tried everything. My IT band is just something I'm gonna have to deal with. Wrong. They did these things, back playing their sports, able to jump, run without thinking about the IT band. Let's start with number 1. Well, the first thing we want is to open up these outside muscles. And just stretching alone can kind of work temporarily, but to really give this room and strength, because we want this area to be strong, we can use an incline bench. An incline bench helps pin down your knee. So a lot of people like myself have a dislocation issue on the outside of the knee, and it's very scary to do these kind of stretches. So stuff like this, head to foot, this kind of stuff, like would have freaked me out to look at because I would have been scared of my knee popping out. It actually affects thousands of people, and often doctors aren't aware of that dislocation, and it's misdiagnosed. Tons of people have reached out to me and had surgeries, and it didn't solve it because it was misdiagnosed what was going on. So this pins the knee down rather than just standing here with it open and not pinned down. And the other thing it does is now it loads into this area. So I have a moderate incline here, which would be where most people would start. And most people would start with your hands on the bench. Because you'll notice if you have that IT band pain, not only is this stretching, this is actually a significant amount of load. We're loading through these muscles while we're stretching. So you can start with your hands on here, but you wouldn't lower the angle of the bench, which makes it more of a stretch. You wouldn't lower that angle unless you're doing this with no help. And as time goes, I still set my timer each week, but what I do is I lean into it, and then I come out and I actually use those muscles, push out. So that gets it really thoroughly. So I want this whole area out here long and strong, and I should feel no tightness to go head to foot. Not that you have to test that, and I think that in beginning stages, testing could be more risk than it is benefit. But for me, that works. The reason I did that is because I used to watch on basketball the 6th man of the year in the NBA. That means the guy who starts out sitting cold on the sideline and then comes into the game better than anyone in the league. And he was doing this approaching 40 years old, bald, gray hair, Manu Ginobili. And he'd sit over there on the sideline. And before he'd check in, he'd be checking his head to foot. And I was like, not only was I tight, I was really freaked out. So that was something that gave me a measurable target. Most of my measurable targets originally came from just observing what these outliers of longevity could do. Then over time, it's come from just coaching thousands of people and seeing what can people get to. So for me, this is really critical. There's plenty of stretches you can do for this area, but this is the best I found to actually load it and get strong while stretching it. Now with that lasting mobility change taking place through here, so it's not being tugged on so hard, we want to get the body to shift and to get those vastus medialis doing more of the work. That's the muscle that engages first when your knee is under pressure. So the activities like running and jumping that often cause this IT band pain, well, in addition to having this mobilized, we want that vastus medialis to be very active. Now I'll show you a working set from this week. Remember that I really patiently lift, so I don't increase weight each week until I'm totally dominating a weight. So we'll look at some key points here. First, notice I control, so I'm never working through pain, and I'm never using a weight that would break me. If I couldn't control it, well, then that wouldn't be accomplishing the result I want. So this is a mathematical way to make your knee more bulletproof and to reduce the amount of pressure that IT band is going to have on it. And notice with the bottom foot, I'm not pushing off, which would also, I would never know my exact progress. So sometimes I have to trade something that might chase perfection versus what's workable and gives me a standard measurement. So this is a 6-inch step, heel elevated, controlling just that heel, exploding back up. And a bit tougher while talking, but I'm balancing the whole time. So I'm not then stepping this foot onto the box. And really important here is being evenly balanced between sides. An analogy I always think of is little kids are not having IT band pain. They're not hurting themselves internally. The world is hurting them because they're weak, but they're so balanced. They don't have imbalances yet. They're not strong enough to hurt themselves. So what if you put the healthiest 10-year-old girl in the world, what if you put her right leg against Usain Bolt's left leg? Usain Bolt would go out, sprint one time, and have a broken right leg. So basically, with greater strength, or with greater power, comes greater responsibility. But this is true with your body. So you want to be evenly balanced in terms of pain-free ability on each side. Otherwise, over the course of miles, this would manifest. If your VMOs were at all different in pain or strength, this would manifest in one side taking some undue force, whether it be from the VMO being weak or maybe even from avoiding your weaker side. And so sometimes those imbalances can go either way. You can hurt the weaker side, or you could overdo it and hurt the stronger side from not having a balanced amount of pressure. Now, a place to start would be just elevating your heel. And notice you can even use assistance. So scalability is the key word. This is where I started, man. I started just trying to get any sort of strength in here. I did not start elevated with weight. So some of the things I can do now among the best in the world, it's only because I decided I was finally willing to start worse than anyone had ever showed me. No one had ever showed me I could start by just assisting myself and just doing what I could, but with that same form. And now little by little by little by little. So your body gets more bulletproof over time when you train at your level that you can recover from. So we have height. I think 6 inches is plenty. And then we have heel elevation. I think anywhere in the 20 to 30 degree range is fine. Now, you can go on Amazon right now. Not mine. I don't have any for sale right now. You can go right now and just search squat wedge on Amazon. You'll find a lot of brands. They all work. I modeled mine after rubber door stops, and I am in contract with a company in the USA to make these. I don't want to get off on too long of a tangent, but I've basically grown a passion for trying to make stuff in the USA. So I will bring these to you soon. USA made, affordably, but it's a very simple idea, and there's plenty of good sellers right now on Amazon if you search squat regs. So I got both of these out. I got the outside there mobilized and strong, and now that vastus medialis strong and balanced from side to side. That alone could knock out and has knocked out a lot of IT band issues, but we're gonna look at two more things. Now this one might be my overall favorite for the IT band because there's another time, first off, that vastus medialis works, and that's when you approach a full bend. So this is allowing me to train that, again, one side at a time. One more rep here. And notice what's happening. I'm also loading a stretch here. So I think that when we run, another aspect of it, from pretty much all of us having lifestyles of excess sitting, I think we're all pretty much don't realize we're limited in the way that these muscles should now be doing their job. So if we're here too much, well, we might be overworking the IT band to begin with. And if all these muscles were more open, maybe we'd be using our glutes and our hamstrings more instead of overstressing the IT band. So this is working from both angles. And I think the last little underrated angle of it is that when I go all the way down, I'm also getting results for this glute here. So as I go into this position, I'm also, without realizing it, I'm getting extra results into that glute. And so I think we're powering up the glutes, but lengthening them at the same time. So rather than just getting stiffer, but more stable. So we do know that IT band works to stabilize, but then if it's stiff, and so we end up in this cycle, we're trying to get stable, but we get stiffer. So this for the glute and for these hip flexors and for the VMO. We're getting 3 things there. And just to show you, I started assisted and elevated, even higher than this. I'm just showing you an example that basically you still have your mobility and your joints. These things still scale just like a dumbbell scales. So again, I had never seen someone assist themselves and just do it where they could. But what happens is you're putting in these reps, you're creating these exact adaptations that you want at your level and recovering back from them. So that's number 3, which leads to the final one. Last but not least, and here, this was, I realized I didn't say the weights. This was 110 pounds. That's 55 pounds each. And then this, I'm going 55 pounds. So I'm not saying that that's perfection to be balanced in this way, but I try to look for everything based on who I'm training myself and look for common denominators that will guide me so I don't develop imbalances. So here, I've got half that weight. I'm holding it. I'm getting a nice stretch at the bottom. Now watch at the top. Where does it get heavy? So here, la-di-da, very easy. As we approach the top, to squeeze that glute. So in there, to be able to squeeze and hold that glute. I believe that's an extremely weak position for most people. And what's going to happen again when we're running, we're not going to actually be using, when we run and jump, using those glutes and hamstrings properly. And what does it allow us to do again that things like regular deadlifts can't do? Nothing against them, but just showing why I do this. Balance between sides. So when I started all these, I was horribly imbalanced in different ways. And now they're all very close to each other. I'm not really sure. Like I'm sure I'm imbalanced to some degree, but it's not to enough that I could notice it. So there you go. Those are 4 examples of things that I use on a weekly basis. I use sort of gentler versions, although, boom, this is what got my dad out of back pain, was actually just, rather than just continually resting and trying to treat the inflammation, actually getting stronger until he could go all the way down. My mama, 68, still sprinting, she can do these on one leg. So obviously someone who couldn't do that, well, what's gonna happen when you run if you're weak in that position? Less gliding, more thudding. Point is, all 4 of these are common sense and have worked, and I really appreciate you telling me each week what you're looking for. As I was starting to say, I do gentler versions of this stuff in my Zero program, which I think you can do up to 3 days a week, meaning a lot of these stimuli, I guess, like look here, if you were doing this like assisted, like I think you could recover from this, and I'm just showing you random shit here. It doesn't really matter. You could assist with 2. If you're doing this assisted, well, how much is this going to take to recover? Whereas now when I'm doing flat ground with 55 pounds each hand, doing that once a week, I'm gonna respect my body and recover now. So it's like a beginner learning push-ups first, like a power lifter benching extremely heavy weights. So I think in body weight, gentle stages in my Knee Ability Zero program, I allow people up to 3 days a week. My current program, you can see exactly what I'm doing on the site, Ben's current program. And I do all 4 of the things I showed you just once a week. Hope this helps.